Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We're just going to wait a minute or two just to give people some time to enter the meeting, and then we'll get started. Okay, so it looks like almost everyone is here, so we'll go ahead and kick this off. So again, thank you all for joining us today for our webinar on penetration testing. My name is Sonia. I'm the marketing manager here at Advantage Industries, and I'm going to be the moderator today. Just wanted to go over a few housekeeping details. We are going to have the chat open throughout the webinar, so please feel free to put any questions or comments in there throughout the presentation. I will be keeping an eye on them, and then when we have some breaks or some time in between the presentation, we can go ahead and address those. Before I hand it over to the man of the hour, Keith, I wanted to share that we have been very fortunate to be honored with numerous awards this year. Keith was featured on the cover of MSP Success magazine and was also named one of the top 25 executives of Maryland for 2 years running now. Also, Advantage was named top 500 MSPs in the nation, both by Channel Futures Company and the Channel Company. And that's largely in part due to the great team that we have here at Advantage. So with no further ado, I'd hand it over to Keith so we can get started on what we're all here for, which is to learn more about penetration testing.
Sonia, thank you for the introduction. Hello, my name is Keith Heilweil, and thank you for joining. We hope at the end of the webinar, you'll be able to answer two primary questions. What is penetration testing and why you should care about it? I'm going to spend just a couple minutes now to further introduce myself, give a little background. Prior to Advantage, I owned and operated two consumer companies. We had transactional customers. We did not have clients. We were open 6 to 7 days a week. I worked 80 plus hours a week. Didn't know what a vacation was. Married with children. Really was not that enjoyable at that time of my life, and I really wanted some sort of change. I wanted to spend time with my family, friends, and others. I was very fortunate to have a business mentor, and for years and years, we had a monthly lunch together. We talked about life and shared, and the values that we shared, but we also talked about business, which, marketing and sales and service delivery and accounting. So his knowledge was very, very important to me in my development as a business owner, and he did know that I wanted to change. So one day at lunch, he said, "You need to do for others what you do and love to do in your own business." I looked at him, said, "What are you talking about?" He repeated himself, and he reminded me that I loved doing application development and building networks. I had 9 workstations and servers in my house at the time. I enjoyed the vendor relationships. I enjoyed helping employees progress in their careers. Once I understood what he was saying, I knew what I had to do, and I opened and founded Advantage Industries, an IT services company, and we were going to have and help clients. So we've been in business for 25 years, and we strive to be the best that we can be at everything that we do. All of our staff is passionate about IT. It's part of the recruiting process, the interview process. If you don't like IT, you're not going to be in our company. You have to enjoy it. We love being an MSP developing IT solutions for clients. We've worked on some amazing high-profile projects at the federal and state level. Those projects were extremely rewarding in how they served the community. The experience we gained from those continue to help our clients today. We have met and know many great people along the way, but the best part is helping clients and family meet or exceed their goals. So our mission today is the same as it was when the company was founded. It's protect and promote our clients' success using innovative technology. The mission is why we are doing this webinar today. We're proud to help our clients achieve their goals. Many have doubled, tripled, and in some cases grown 10 or 20 times over throughout the years. We help clients by mitigating risks and providing their businesses with customized, proactive, and cost-effective solutions. We know how important IT is to our clients. It's part of every department nearly. In summary, we provide managed IT and cybersecurity services, network and systems integration, compliance as a service, information management solutions, application development, AI, and business intelligence. So now we're going to move on to why you're here, which is what is penetration testing. Now that you know a little bit of Vantage, we'll get into this. The background I'm going to talk here. This slide is a little bit difficult slide. I'm going to talk a little bit about the players in it first. And I'm going to start with NIST, which is a little down on the page. The National Institute of Standards and Technologies. For most of you should know that it's a federal agency that develops the standards for the country. And in the IT world, they have the special publication series 800. If anyone likes simple, entertaining reading, they can read 853 or 837 or a host of any others when they're looking to kill off some time. And then there's also the other organization here I want to talk about is MITRE Corp. MITRE has been around for 65 plus years. They're an important agencies that many people do not know about. Since inception, they've helped address many of the complex whole nation world type challenges that have gone on. And it's a big part of what their mission is and what they do. And particularly to things that threaten safety and security and prosperity in the country. So they're interesting sites to read about with them. Now, the next part of the equation here is, there was a problem. We know there's threats. We know there's IT threats. So there had to be an organization that was going to develop a library of all common and vulnerable and exposure incidents that occur. Those incidents had to be identified, defined, and cataloged and be publicly available. And that became the CVE org. Then there had to be a framework to globally put all those tactics together and the techniques and base it on real world observations and use that as a foundation for developing threat models in the government and in the private sector. And that framework was developed by MITRE. MITRE also was given the responsibility of maintaining CVE. Now, how this ties back to NIST is that NIST, which is standards throughout the country, came out with a national vulnerability database called NVD. And NVD is simply a synchronization of the MITRE CVE list from cev.org. So it gives you a framework that this is not penetration testing organizations are not just making stuff up on their own. They are all using standards that have been developed nationally, with MITRE, with CVE. There's a whole process on when a threat ever occurs, it gets sent to CVE, and they'll obviously identify, define, and catalog. So there's a whole framework here to get this all working. So network penetration tests are based upon the MITRE framework. Hopefully that made sense, and feel free to come back and ask some questions. I think we're going to get to that slide in a second. So if you have any crazy questions, or because it didn't make a lot of sense, feel free to ask them now. And if not, you'll have time the entire time of this presentation to ask them afterwards or moving forward.
Yeah, we'll say, Keith, we don't have any questions in the chat as of right now, so I think we're good to continue on.
Okay. So now we're going to head over to why you should care. And we're going to start with the cybersecurity and regulatory environment. So the cyber insurance industry and the compliance frameworks are continuing to mandate IT security controls. They're doing so because of all the hacks and claims that are occurring. In the past 3 year, insurance claims are up 100%. Claims that resulted in payments 200%, over 8,000 claims in 2021. And the attacks are now going to small and medium-sized businesses, 44% increase in mid-sized businesses claims with a revenue between 25 and 100 million. Originally, it was the big organizations, but they have really protected themselves. And now the more vulnerable organizations are the small and medium-sized organizations. So business losses are staggering. 1% of claims came from large organizations for a total of $1 billion, but 99% of claims came from SMBs, 5 million to 100 million. We're accounting for 357 of the 1 billion in losses. And when it comes to ransomware, the average claim is $485,000. Think about what that can do to an organization, specifically one that doesn't have cyber insurance. So, but if you do have cyber insurance, you need to know that 56% of claims are for all small businesses, and the average claim is 345. Only 8% of business ransom to hackers do the businesses receive all their data back. And now here's the other kicker. Only 1/3 of insurance claims are denied or partially paid because of exclusions in policy of non-compliance with terms. It may take months or years to get reimbursed. And as far as compliance, you're going to find that many policies are now starting to ask about penetration testing, and many are requiring it as well. So you have to say, is your company equipped to handle this should an incident occur in your organization? We know that there tool after tool, the security environment in the organization has continued to grow. And there's always like another tool I have to deal with, and it seems to be like a never-ending process to protect yourself against cyber attacks. Many of you already have in place firewalls, antivirus, endpoint protection, encryption, security training, phishing, email protection, multi-factor, vulnerability scanning, and you would think that would be enough, but unfortunately it's not. And one of the big factors is people make mistakes, because there's the people component. 43% of breaches are insider threats, intentional or unintentional. I believe most are unintentional. And 74% of breaches involve a human element. Penetration is the only security tool that will test your IT systems. It identifies mistakes that people have made or could possibly make. It determines potential consequences of those mistakes. A couple examples are a port on a firewall that someone configured 3 years ago that's not in use or was misconfigured. Not updating firmware of appliances in the organization, whether it's a firewall or a switch. There are holes that occur, and that patching has to always be updated continually. And we know, as we all know, the security layers of IT. This one shows 7 different layers. Physical security, which is access to; network security, which is VPNs and firewalls; and then there's perimeter. Cloud security is becoming a big thing now. Endpoint security, the workstations and the servers. Application security, and the most important part is data security as well. And then a common question is vulnerability scanning. Is that the same thing? Well, the answer is no. And I'm going to go through each of the purposes first. So vol scanning will identify and report potential vulnerabilities in the system. A pen test will address real-world exploits and will identify and exploit the vulnerabilities. It's a real-world attack. The methods. A vol scan will use automated tools for scans known as vulnerabilities. A pen test will use security professionals, ethical hackers who manually test and attempt to breach your system. The scope of the project. Vol scan is broad and high level, covering a wide range of issues. A pen test is in depth and targeted, focusing on specific areas of concern. Frequency. A vol scan is normally weekly or monthly. It's kind of always ongoing and running. A pen test is less frequently, normally annually or biannually due to its comprehensive nature. And then the outcome. A vol scan generates a report listing detected vulnerabilities, which can be addressed by your IT team if they address it or have the knowledge to address it. A pen test provides a detailed report on exploited vulnerabilities and recommendations for remediation. So it provides a roadmap and helps solve those problems as well. Now, there are two specific general categories of penetration testing: internal versus external. The focus of internal is going to simulating an attack from within the organization, and external is the opposite, to simulate an attack from outside of the organization. The objectives are somewhat different as well. And one is to vulnerabilities that can be exploited by someone with internal access versus identifying internet-facing assets such as web servers, email servers, and firewalls. The scope. Internal will test the internal systems, networks, and applications. External will test the security of the systems and applications that are accessible from the internet. The use case scenario, one is internal is used for assessing risks of insider threats and ensuring internal security measures are effective. External's going to assess the risks of external threats and ensure that perimeter defenses are robust. In summary, vulnerability is more about identifying potential issues through an automated scan. Penetration testing involves a hands-on approach to actively exploit and understand the impact of those vulnerabilities. Both types of these are critical for a comprehensive security strategy and help identify and mitigate different types of threats. So if your perimeter is secured, you still need an internal. Well, again, it's going to go back to the human element. 74% of breaches are internal, 43 are insider threats, and 19 involve internal actors. So the next question is why you should care. Well, disruption to your business, even if it's days or weeks, it's can affect your business. It can affect your staff, and if it's catastrophic, and you get down through the 7 layers and you don't have your data anymore, it really can affect a business permanently. And all of this, a mild disruption or a major disruption, will affect you and your family. So it's an important thing that we all should care about and focus on making sure we're doing everything we can to protect ourselves and be compliant with insurance and security frameworks to do so. So hopefully that answered a lot of stuff. So some key takeaways are: it's a valid assessment of risk. It's the only security tool that ethically tests your cyber defenses. It's often a requirement for cyber insurance in different frameworks. It helps mitigate risks. It's one component of a multi-layered cybersecurity approach. And both external and internal pen testing are critical for your organization. So hopefully that will give you some, thoughts on why you should be doing pen testing in your organization as well.
So as far as questions, this chat is very quiet today. I guess maybe because it's still early and for those of us in Maryland, it's rainy, so maybe everyone's a little bit tired. But I did get like 2 questions for people that couldn't attend today that they wanted me to ask. One of them was, if you were to get the penetration test done, would this impact staff or the work or productivity? Like, how would that affect that?
Not at all, which would not be felt. It just runs in the background, and it can take, other hours, days to weeks, depending on how large the organization is.
Okay. And then the other one, of course, with any sort of testing, we always know that there's a cost that's affiliated with it. How much would one of these cost?
Well, the cost ranges from, a small organization of 5 people to a company that has 100 people. So it's very depending upon the infrastructure that's there. We also did not want this to be a sales presentation, so we really wanted those who have interest in it We're happy to answer any questions along the way, but there is a wide range based upon the infrastructure that's in place.
Those were the only questions that I had. Again, unless anyone wants to write in the chat right now of any questions that you have, feel free. In the meantime, we will get a recording of this sent over to you once I have that available. If you do have any questions or concerns or want to reach out for more information, as Keith mentioned, with the cost, we'd have to look at your entire framework and what type of company and all of that in order to get a more detailed response to you for that. So you can reach out to us, either calling us, emailing us. You can also get all our information on our website as well. So I appreciate you guys all being here. I also will just give you a little heads up. When I send the link to the recording, I'm going to include a small survey. We hope to continue to do more of these educational webinars and would love to get some feedback on topics that you'd be interested in learning about, just so we can start working on those and hopefully doing more of these. So thank you guys, and hope you guys all have a great rest of your day.